Good morning. Today is Saturday, October 25th. I don't know what time it is, a little after 9:30 in the morning. We just came back to check on the cats. The apartment is freezing a little bit, although see Harlow's fine. We're going to try to work out something where we get a space heater to heat up the bedroom and then keep the cats contained in there until further notice. Sometimes problem solving takes a village. But I've never been invited to do a TED Talk. I don't even know how one would get invited. So I'm just going to do a MEL talk today. And I want to bring something to everyone's attention, and that is October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And it has come to my attention in the last few weeks that people do not understand it and can be insensitive and sometimes outright vicious to people dealing with or who have fled from that situation. When relaying my own experience, I am just going to say that I use my pronouns, she, her, and my ex-husband pronouns, he, him, but recognize domestic violence comes in any type of relationship. Men have to flee from women have to flee from men, same-sex couples have it. It touches all facets of society. And I think there's things that people don't know about it. And I just want to make sure that people are aware, because I think I too in the past have probably been super insensitive and critical about people. The number one question I got asked was, why didn't you leave? Why did you wait decades? Why didn't you leave? Are you an idiot? And the answer is the short answer is no, I'm not an idiot. The long answer is, if he had just hit me or shoved me or attacked me at the beginning, I would have left and never looked back. But that's not what happened. The psychological chipping away starts first. And it's subtle, and it occurs so slowly until every last bit of confidence is eroded. And you've been hearing for so many years, you can't live without me, you're so stupid, you can't do anything, you're incapable, and you hear it enough and then you believe it. Even though there's a kernel of memory of a time when you were capable. And I did leave a couple times and I went back because what happened was I had heard so many times, you can't live without me, that when the going got tough, I thought that was who could help me. I now know better because my confidence is growing every day. Also, I know if I try to go back now, there's a group of people that will handcuff me if they have to. But it's not as easy as it happens suddenly and you just leave, because you may not even know you're in the middle of it. I didn't know I had been a victim. I didn't know I had been a victim for decades. And let me assure you, too, the courts and the police, nobody's going to arrest anybody on psychological abuse. And then suddenly you find your world so shrunk and so small that all you are doing is living in your bedroom and going to the bathroom. And if you dare to venture in the living room or the hallway, there are cameras. And, I'm just installing these cameras to keep an eye on my computer equipment. Well, from who? Nobody's going to break into this crappy apartment. And you realize one day that they're on motion sensors, because the second you go out into the living room, your abuser speaks to you to the camera asking you what you're doing or what you're watching on TV. And then you learn to just stay in your bedroom where there are no cameras. Although I think there would have been if I hadn't thrown a fit about that. And they even go as far as I'll buy you an iPhone. Well, the only reason they bought me an iPhone was so they could location share, and then I can know where you're at all times. And then I can text you and ask you why you're at this store or why you're doing this. And that was a normal way of life by that point for me after decades of that. So no, you don't leave because you don't know you need to until it's kind of too late. And the neighbors called the police numerous times on him. And I was always like, oh, no, it's fine. But he always made sure to let everyone know that I was crazy and she's on medication and she sees a psychiatrist. Well, I only was on medication and saw a psychiatrist because he said I needed to. And then I was over-medicated. And I was told explicitly what to say at appointments, and they, and now it's in my permanent medical record, and like try to get that undone, Lord Almighty. So all that to say, it comes to a head sometimes. It comes to a head in a violent confrontation in a 9-hour ordeal. And the second question I get asked is, well, there's so many resources. Well, that's not exactly true either. The night I was brutally attacked, after a certain number of hours, when I had a few minutes alone with my phone, I called the National Domestic Hotline. And I got an auto recording that night, and it said, we're experiencing a higher than normal call volume. Please call your local domestic violence hotline. Thank you. And it auto hung up. No option to wait, nothing. But again, I'm on like a really short time crunch. I'm trying to do this on the sly in the middle of a really tense situation. So I called the local hotline. And the lady who answered, I just said, I need help. I need to get out. Something bad's going on. And she said, well, what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, well, I thought this was the hotline. And she's like, call the police. And she hung up. So I called the police because at that point I really had no choice. But at that point, the person attacking me came in the room and hung up the phone and took the phone. And they canceled the call before it actually even went through. That's how close it was. Because for sure, if it had gone through, in a hang up, they would have come. And we're familiar with our address, but they never came. No one came. So no, the resources aren't as vast as you'd think. And then, you just go to court and get an order of protection. That seems simple too, trust me. It's a draining process. And if you're in shock and trauma like I was, it's kind of protective, but it's humiliating and degrading. And you are the one as the victim on the stand under fire. The other person is not. And the first one, he wasn't even there. The second one, for some reason, the judge, she just thought he was adorable and wonderful. And thank God for trauma brain, because if I had been like my own self, I would have been like, hey, he's available. Take him home. Raise him as your own. See how delightful he is. But thankfully I did not, because, a stint in the county jail didn't seem appropriate either for me at that time. But after decades of my confidence being eroded, and not knowing I was a victim, I will thank God every day for the friend that called me at 10:30 that Saturday morning and said, I don't know what's going on. You sound terrible. You need to leave. And I'm like, I just need to take a nap. If I take a nap, I'll feel better. But I don't think I can leave. And then the other piece of it is, if I leave with no plan, I can't take the cats. I have to leave Harlow and Piper behind. The Harlow and Piper that have been there for me in my bedroom, where I've been a prisoner, essentially, all this time. The Harlow and Piper that were there by my side. And I don't know if they'll be okay. And I don't know if I'll ever see them again. And then eventually I realized that's a chance I just kind of have to take. So I took it. And I packed clothes and a few things. I didn't have a lot anyway, but filled up the trunk of my car and left while he was passed out in the other room and didn't notice. And thankfully, the way the good Lord worked it all out, I didn't check my bank account balance before I left, or I would have never left, because I was pretty horrified to discover I had like $17.43 or something like that in the account, because he had been draining me. And I remember when the $1,400 COVID stimulus checks came out, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to the dentist. I hadn't been to the dentist in a long time. And had a few cavities that needed to be filled. I've been blessed not to really need any extensive dental work my entire life. And then, just a second, I'm getting a call from my beloved. Ignore the ringing. And so, yeah, I went to the dentist and he threw a fit because apparently I was supposed to hand over that check to him for, the mustard he bought and the this he bought and the that and the electricity, whatever. And he constantly lorded over me how I didn't make that much money, but he made sure that I was too disabled to work full time, and he made sure I remained in this drug-induced stupor of over-medication, so I remained compliant. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could have mentioned it to anyone. I don't know that anyone knew. I don't know that I knew. I don't know that I knew what was going on. And so that day I walked out, no confidence, no faith, and I just had to tell myself, well, if it gets too bad, I can end it all. I always have that option, but I guess I'll try. So that's what the real story is, that it's not, if somebody was hit or it was obvious at first, they would leave. But you lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, you don't know you've lost yourself. And you don't know you should leave. And then if you have kids or pets or a drained bank account, what are you supposed to do? And those resources, those overflowing resources advertised everywhere, they're full. I circled back with a national domestic violence hotline. They said, we do have a shelter for you. Can you get to Gary, Indiana? Gary, Indiana was not and never will be on my life plan. I was not going to go to Gary, Indiana. Ultimately, of course, everything ended up beautiful and fine, but not without a lot of effort. And I sit in a nice apartment now. I'm the winner in all of this. I am the winner. I was the winner at 10:45 on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024, when I walked out of that household. I was the winner then, even though I was separated from my pets and I had no idea where I was going that night. And I had no idea what the future would look like. Unless you think my friends abandoned me too and were like, hey, we're going to let you sleep on a bench. They did not. But when your confidence is so eroded, you also don't trust that if you stay with someone for any length of time, they're still going to be your friend. Because they're going to get to know the real you, and the real you is this awful person. Because you've been hearing for decades that you're this awful person and you are stupid and you bring chaos and horrible things. So that is the ins and outs of domestic violence as I see it. So also, don't ask people why they didn't go to the hospital. After you've been attacked, trust me, that's just more questions. It's people touching you. It's people being invasive. It's you once again being on the hot seat. And nobody wants that. I don't regret that. I don't regret that my abuser didn't go to jail because I didn't report it, even if other people think that's horrible. That was a choice I made to protect myself. And I protected myself the best I could, mentally and physically. And that's the long and short of it. And I think my next MEL talk, as some of you know, I'm usually lighthearted. This is kind of dark and serious. I think my next one's going to be PTSD. Who knew how the hell that bad that could be? Wow. Anyway, until next time, be supportive of each other. Be supportive of your domestic violence friends. Don't ask why they didn't go to the hospital. Don't ask why they didn't call the police. Don't ask why they didn't leave. Assume they did the best they could with what they knew at the time. Amen. God bless.